Hey, it's Aaron. I have another question about electric vehicles, this one from Jesse. Jesse wants to know what invention made gasoline-powered cars better than electric cars? So, for those unfamiliar with history, back in the early days of automotive, both gasoline and electric-powered cars were on the road. They were about on par with each other in terms of capability and range and all that stuff. So back in those days, it was very hard to find gasoline, and electricity was common in cities, but not necessarily outside of them. And uh, but so the two were pretty much on par. There was no infrastructure for gasoline, and the infrastructure for electric was pretty limited, but a little more readily accessible. The problem was the technology at the time. Batteries were not very good. They didn't last very long. They often had to be swapped out because they would go bad. They had lots of issues. They were just, it was early lead acid and other technologies. It just wasn't a very good match for a vehicle that drove short distances around towns, which was what most of the vehicles were made for at the time. They were fine. Now, gasoline vehicles had a lot of problems as well. They were generally unreliable. It was difficult to find fuel, and the fuel that could be found was of varying quality, wasn't always the best, and they were loud, and they were in a way dangerous. You had to crank start them, and that could kick back, break arms, all kinds of things. So it was a difficult time for automotive. Everything about it was brand new. What happened was that the battery technology did not jump forward. Battery technology is chemical technology, and chemical technology at the time was not focused on batteries. We were, as a society, both in the U.S. and globally, chemistry was mostly focusing on things like medications and processes to quickly do things like that, manufacturing, places like that. They weren't really focused on batteries because, for the most part, most of the world didn't need batteries for anything. They weren't a thing yet. And so the batteries that did exist were relatively small and were not meant for a car. They were meant for, at the time, were far more practical things, like flashlights, things like that. So combustion technology was much easier to understand because it was mechanics, and mechanics had been around for a very long time. And in terms of all kinds of things that need to be mechanical, not necessarily just combustion motors. And also, combustion motors had more promise for more power that was easily understood and just needed to be worked out. So they took off. Battery electrics did not. That's the long and the short of it. Until the batteries and the vehicles were able to match what gasoline can do, which is an extremely recent thing. It's really only happened in the last little bit, and we still haven't actually matched. Pound for pound and volume for volume, there is still far more energy in a gallon of gasoline than there is in a equivalent sized, so you think of a milk jug, equivalent sized bank of batteries. So it's a very, in terms of propulsion, so it's still not really on par. We're still not at that equal point, and it's probably going to be a while before we are. Most of our drive towards electric vehicles is not driven by it being a better technology in terms of energy use. It's driven by the fact that it's a cleaner technology over the long term. So, yeah, it's a slow process. It's going to take longer than most people would assume, and there's a reason that gas vehicles won out early on, and it's only recently that we've seen the possibility of eclipsing that reason for them winning out in the first place. So there you go. That's what I got. Hopefully, Jesse, this helps you with your question. If you have a question, go ahead and hit me up. Find me in the comments down below, Facebook, Twitter, etc. You can DM or tag me so I see it. Yeah, hit me up, ask a question. I'll do my best to answer it. Okay, this has been Aaron. Talk to you again soon.